Now let's add a kick. So you can start building a track with this sound, and then you can just like change it up a little bit. What up guys, Maya here with another video, and in this video I'm going to go over some questions that I was asked in my channel about what pedals I would recommend to use with synthesizers. It adds a little bit more of a hands-on experience. For me, it's always been about that experience, right? On how am I able to like bring in what I'm feeling at the moment where I'm making music into like my entire production by adding like some, you know, different elements. There's no one way of doing it. I think this is the simplest way of working with pedals, and yeah, so let's get to it. So to start using your DAW with pedals, you're going to need an audio interface that has enough outputs, and then you are also going to need synth cables. These cables are labeled ring and tip, and they come really in handy once you're getting ready to connect your pedals. So output 7, and we're gonna use the tip, which is gonna be kind of like the output, and feed it directly into one of our pedals, and then we're gonna do the same thing for the insert 8. And then we are going to use this over here for the output. This is going to feed the signal back into our DAW. So now that we have all this set up, we're ready to start experimenting with pedals in our DAW. All right, let's bring in a retro synth. Okay, and then we are going to bring in an audio, which is going to be the input from 7 and 8, which is going to be routing the sounds from the pedals to our audio interface. Okay, and then over here in instrument, we're gonna create a track stack. We can send this directly to the output 7 and 8, which is the one that we also connected the outputs from the audio interface. Make sure that monitoring is connected. All right, so let's bring the Hall of Fame. So that's simple connection, right? That is going to affect the sound directly that is being generated from or some track. So that's one way to do it. The other way that I think it's a little bit better, because you can like tame the sound as you want, is here we're actually going to generate a bus. So I already like have this bus track. It's a synth effect track. If we go over here, the same idea, the outputs are gonna go into 7 and 8. Right now, if I started playing like we did before, we have the dry signal, and then we'll be sending just like a regular send effect to our pedals. So actually you can like control only and record only the effects and then keep the dry signal this way. The other way, the one that we did at the beginning, you cannot really do that. So as I was editing this video, it was getting a little bit too long, so I decided to just chop it up into 2 parts. This is gonna be part 1, and we're gonna start with a little bit of delay. So let's bring this one in. So see how it's feeling? And it's like getting bigger and bigger. I love that. So I'm gonna bring in a loop, and we're gonna use some drums. So if you're working like with claps and things like that, if you add, you know, a little bit of like play reverb, it just like spreads them out a little bit more. Also, you're not taxing your DAW. So let me guys show you this. So the CPU is like super low because we're actually using like the effects externally, which is really nice. Real nice. So once you're producing a track, right, it just makes it a little bit easier to jump out of the screen and just start grooving with it. So yeah, you can start like messing around with this. I think it does add some really cool ambience to tracks. Okay, so now let's jump into the flashback. I think that the flashback is good for soundscapes, especially if you chain it up with the Hall of Fame or any other reverb. You can come up with like some really, really funky ideas. So let me show you guys how I use it. So let's go back to this loop. So we can add some, like the Hall of Fame after this. So if this is all playing together, so you can completely modify like any loop that you want, you know, any percussion loop or whatever, and make up your own sounds. Like you have the analog part here. And then you can start just like messing around, recording whatever you're doing. So that's another awesome thing that you can do with the Flashback. Let's go to the tape delay. The other cool thing, right, is that once you have a sound that you like, you actually have to commit to it. So you have to like start recording it, because if not, you know, it's like everything, right? You want it perfect, but I think that the imperfections in music are what gives them character, and that's what makes your track sound completely different than everybody else's. And I think that's why another reason I love using pedals, simple, you know, modifiers of the sounds that I already have in my production, and they just like sound good. We can add some really, really funky ambient sounds. Then if we use it on a synthesizer, you can widen that sound in your mix. Obviously, you don't want to abuse this power, because if not, it gets, I don't know, too overwhelming. You're going to muddy up your mix. But the other cool thing, right, is that you can even, like, if you're DJing, you can bring a couple of pedals in, use the same idea of like the send and return effects, and you can add some really, really solid sounds to your DJ set. So yeah, really cool stuff that you can do. Again, you know, if you want to add some ambience to your tracks, I think Flashback plus Hall of Fame are really, really cool combo. All right, guys, so as you can see, my setup is super simple, super easy to follow. If you enjoyed what you saw just in this video, here are some other videos that you can see. And if you really enjoyed my channel, please consider subscribing. That would mean the world to me. And yeah, let's chat next week. All right, guys, bye.